Hey everyone, welcome to the Underswell. I'm Derek Sabori. Thanks for being here. Meet John DiGregorio, a passionate and driven leader who thrives in dynamic and complex environments. Based in Los Angeles, California, John has a strong background in finance and IT and a proven track record delivering strategic insights, process improvements, and business solutions to global organizations like Paramount Pictures, Sony Pictures Entertainment, and most recently, Liberated Brands. He's currently seeking new opportunities. I found John to have an inspiring outlook on leadership and relationship building, and I also appreciated his clear-eyed approach to business operations, and I can easily see him in action as a problem solver. Someone who, as he puts it, is always able to see the forest for the trees. As you'll hear in our conversation, John sees himself as a valuable asset who is adaptable, a people person, and always willing to do the job that has to get done. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you'll dive in and learn more about John DiGregorio. John, welcome to the Underswell. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Derek. It's great to be here. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have a chat with you, especially because you're working at my alma mater. I spent a lot of years, as we discussed, at Volcom. You recently were at Liberated Brands as a financial planning and analysis manager, but you're out there looking for new opportunities. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. Unfortunately, as of late, Liberated Brands declared bankruptcy. So looking for the next opportunity, back to the market.
Yeah. And how long were you over there?
Only 6 months, a short time. I started back in June 2024, and they're basically closing shop in the beginning of March 25.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into all that. We'll get into some of your backstory and a little bit of what you've been working on. But first, I want to get a sense of where you're calling from, and is that home?
Of course, yeah. I'm home. I'm here in the San Fernando Valley. I'd usually say sunny and beautiful, but it's gloomy today. So thank you for the rain. We needed it. But yeah, here up in the valley.
Awesome. And if I always like to ask, if the right opportunity came about, are you willing to relocate, or are you pretty locked in? This is home. This is where you want to find your next opportunity.
Yeah, I think with 2 young children right now, they're in elementary school. I'm pretty locked into Southern California, but that's not to say that I can't take one of the puddle jumpers and commute over to a city just north or east of here. I think that's well within the reality of what's going on today anyway, right?
Yeah, that's a fair bet. So I would imagine then something that's remote or maybe light hybrid would be best for you. Is that right?
Yeah, I think hybrid is my preference. I'm pretty much a strong believer in being around people is very important. And I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about that, but I think hybrid is great. Remote, very, very convenient, but that full in-person, it definitely depends on the industry. I would only want to go there if mandated.
Well, I want to kind of break the script here a little bit, and let's lean in on that. Why are you drawn so much to working with people and being on site and working with in person with the team?
Of course, yeah. Well, I believe in people power. I think my real skill is leadership and understanding where people are coming from and how to not make an elephant try to climb a tree, right? I like to use people for what their best skill sets are and kind of find out what they're good at. And that sometimes takes interacting with them on a real one-on-one basis or in a personal group setting.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And that's kind of why we're doing this as well, right? Because I think there's that opportunity when you're interacting with somebody to really get to know them a little bit better and understand who they are. And to your point, even better when it's live and in person. Let's talk pathways, John. I want to, if you can, tell me a little bit about the last 3 or 4 years. You were at Liberated there for those last 6 months or so, but what about, what led up to that? And then let's talk about where you want to go next. Where do you see yourself going? But let's try to wrap it all up and give me some look back and look forward.
Yeah, I'll take you back quickly to right before the pandemic. I never thought I would have left Paramount Pictures. I really loved it there. Spent the better part of 8 years working on multiple teams. But I got an offer from Sony Pictures, right? 2019. Eager to lead, executive director, coming in on a distribution team that needed to put my expertise to use. Quickly, we were forced to navigate, just like everyone else, that really unique environment. And I'd say that not only adapting to that complete work from home with everybody, but understanding a lot of that process flow across many different areas of the business that I was responsible for really kind of forced me to, pick myself up and say, hey, we got to get this done. And I felt like I really excelled early on and got a lot under my belt. But unfortunately, Sony, we kind of had a change in direction, and I was let go after 4 years there. So I was able to kind of get back to a lot of the community work that I do, working with my children's school, taking some time off, really dedicating it with them. And then I got the itch again, wanted to get back to work, and then ultimately landed in a more specialized role and focused role here at Liberated, where I'm doing the consolidated financial reporting, which is something that was a very small piece of my job at Sony. So
yeah, and if we look back, or kind of looking at those two things, whether it's the entertainment industry that you were in or here at Liberated or on the finance side, where do you see yourself going forward? Which of those areas do you want to lean into? Or are you looking for something totally new? Give us a little sense of what you're looking for.
Well, I do love the entertainment industry. I will say that. I think consumer goods has its obvious upside. There's some really exciting things going on, especially with some of the companies that I've been talking to. And that still has an appeal to me. But I think absolute entertainment, it's just, I really thrive in that fast-paced, ever-changing environment. There are so many new things going on a daily basis, whether it's technology or theaters or, some type of strike. There's always an issue to deal with, and I kind of thrive in that problem-solving environment.
You like a little bit of the chaos and trying to find maybe find the solutions in the chaos and creating some calm in all of that?
Exactly. And I think that's happens in big companies, and oftentimes when you're speaking with a smaller firm, they often chalk it up to, oh, well, those big companies have it all figured out. And it's just, come on, nobody does.
That's right.
Sometimes we think they do, but nobody has it figured out. And it's just bigger dollars, but different materiality, same mindsets a lot of times.
I'm glad you brought that up. And I think it's hard for us to sometimes remember that we are all just figuring it out, as humans, as leaders, as business, whether, politics, building democracy, building brands, building whatever it is, like we're all just figuring it out, so there are no perfect answers. So it goes back to us being able to work together, leaning on each other's strengths and really relying on each other to build great things. Maybe tell me a little bit about what drives your approach then. It sounds like we're maybe unpacking some of the things that drive who you are, how you show up. Maybe, some of us have a personal mission statement. What's your North Star?
Well, I learned a long time ago from my cousin who was always in a leadership role, whether it was high school or with his friends or in college, that you got to do the job that has to get done and the job that no one else wants to do. And I think oftentimes when I'm placed in that type of environment or, a new environment, that's what I look to do. I look to get my hands on a problem that no one's been willing to solve or that no one can really sink their teeth into, and I try to solve it. I think that's really where my focus is. I think secondarily to that, it's putting people first, right? Saying, hey, I'm in here. I'm going to care about my coworkers, whether it's, team and subordinates or just my colleagues, if I'm an independent contributor or, just, member of a team. I think it's important to be dynamic and not always just try to fit a mold. Be yourself, be adaptable. If somebody has a certain working style and you're new to the team, hey, try to work with them first, right? And I think that's what I try to do. And that's my North Star, right? Like, be adaptable, be a people person, and do the job that has to get done.
I get the sense, John, that you are a humble person. You take a humble, kind of a humble approach to leadership. Dare I even say vulnerable? My words, not yours. I'm a big fan of that. But I get the sense that you really show up authentically, but really lean on people to be themselves and let their strengths really shine through. Is that fair to say?
It is, and I am, masculine enough to. I love the word vulnerability, and I think it's important, especially for men these days, to be more vulnerable in the workplace, and just in life in general, but especially in the workplace. And I remember once being asked to speak at a interns of mine's class reception for their fraternity. And as a matter of fact, it turned out that they had booked someone else at the last second. And I was like, hey, I'll come and watch. Like, sure, this is great. And then I watched the gentleman give a speech on how you should change your personality, just to fit the mold again and just to fit inside a box and toe that company line. And I looked kind of to my right and my left. And I looked at my intern and I was like, yo, like, let's not think that way. Because I want individuality. Yeah. I want people to bring their unique sense of self and their own skill set, as we were saying before, to their job and their role in my team. And that's whether we're on a professional squad of finance professionals trying to get a forecast done, or we're in the community trying to make a decision on what to do at this intersection that's been dilapidated and neglected over time. Right? How can we beautify it? I think it's important to kind of take that mindset and that approach.
I really appreciate that. When we look back, John, at your past experiences, and I think you're starting to, again, kind of touch on a handful of these things, but what are some of the things that you've learned or appreciate the most? And whether it's how you've evolved as a professional, maybe connections you've made, or even the lessons you've learned or the mistakes you've made. We can all learn from our mistakes, right?
Oh, of course. Yes. And mistakes, there are aplenty. But I think to start it off, I'll say that when I first entered the workplace, I thought being loyal to a company was the most important thing. My father was with a company for 25 years. He retired there, with a pension, God bless him, and then went on to work somewhere else. I thought that should be my life. Find a company that I could keep my loyalty and stay there, and that they would take care of me. That wasn't the case, right? I felt that it wasn't the loyalty to the company. It's the loyalty to your colleagues, the people, the trust and respect that you build with those people. That matters. That matters not just in the workplace and if you need a new job or if you need some help down the road, but it means something in life. And I think those connections, that's where my focus has shifted. I used to be all about the company, and now I'm all about my team, my colleagues, and the rest of the group.
Man, I bet your team really appreciates that. What else? Anything else in that zone in terms of looking back, connections you've made, or what else have you learned? Of course,
yeah. I think that the thing that's majorly lost now is going the extra mile. Putting the resume in front of somebody for your friend, calling them up when there's a job opportunity, being on the lookout, and really not just shuffling it and saying, "Yeah, I'll do my best," but bothering that person. Saying, hey, I followed up with you. Like, did you give him a call? This is a referral. What's going on here? Really trying to push the limitations of what you could do as a friend and as a colleague. Because I think going through dozens of interviews over the past year, what I can tell you most is that knowing somebody makes the most critical difference. And if you have a reference or somebody that on the inside, I strongly recommend that you muster up the courage to reach out to them, send them your resume, spark up a conversation, or reconnect with them, because that's what's going to differentiate you from the rest of the pack. And then I'd say, as far as mistakes go, as much as I say that it's people first, that is a double-edged sword. It's a good and a bad thing, because people can make or break your team. And I think what I've learned is that sometimes you just need to make the break. You need to understand when you've done all you can do. And if you're in a position of leadership, sometimes you just need to part ways with that employee, right? And not give them that second, third, or umpteenth chance to make amends when they say they're going to make better on their part. So I think that's just a sad reality where if you don't do that, it will come back to bite you.
Yeah, and sometimes it'll even affect just the rest of that greater team that you're trying to build, right? So they can be tough calls, but it's oftentimes for the greater good for that team. So yeah, we get stuck in tough positions. John, if I look back at your LinkedIn profile and I kind of read through it, one of the things that really caught my eye is, and you've mentioned it, you've alluded to it, is your community activism, whether it's being involved with the city or the community or your kids' schools, team sports, whatever it is. Why is that important to you? How has it come about? And, how's it shaped who you are?
I think the whole is stronger than the sum of the parts. And I don't know if that's a Lombardi quote, Vince Lombardi, or if that's just Socrates or Plato or whomever. But I just firmly believe in that. And that's professionally, that's community, that's on the football field or the soccer pitch, right? I think this is stronger than this. And when oftentimes people, especially in America, are feeling hyper anxious at certain moments, there's a lot that can't be done very far away. But there's a lot that can be done in your own backyard.
Yeah.
So that was my reaction when I felt, the urge of what can I do, and frustration. That I just looked to my own community.
Yeah, and that seems like, and it's treated you well and has been the right thing, and I'm sure you've seen good things come from it.
Yeah, I think it's sparked at least some interest in people getting involved. There are people that are still seated on some of the councils that I was on that are there today, right? So they're still making an impact, right? And I think that's incredibly important. And I just recently rejoined. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Hey, I look. This could be tough. I think when we've got our LinkedIn profiles, we've got our resumes to put out there, and I know a lot of times there are life experiences that we have, or there are things about each of us that can't be fully captured on that resume, or we can't fully tell that story. So this is an opportunity to really let people know, like, beyond the paper, beyond your resume, what life experience is there that people might not catch by reading through your past?
Yeah, thank you, Derek. I think the biggest question is, wait a minute, you're from New York? And I couldn't tell that by the accent.
Right.
No, but I think that's the thing that defines me. I moved to California 16 years ago, 3 months after graduating with my bachelor's in finance, to Los Angeles. I didn't have a job. Spent 3 months doing a bunch of different odd jobs, from selling cable door to door, to working security at a Hebrew school, to working at clubs and being, a bouncer and a doorman, until I was able to finally land something in my field in accounting at the time. And I think that I had a lot to prove. And I think that's what I enter every role in every room, unfortunately, is at some points, every room with, is that, hey, I've got something to prove here, because I want to make you understand that I was the right decision. Whether it's to lead your team, to be your director or your manager, or to be your chairman or, your president, or your friend. I want people to say I made the right choice with this guy, because, he's got my back.
That's great. Give me an example of a type of work environment that you really thrive in then. If we're putting you into a place, is it chaotic? Is it super busy? Do you like focused work? A lot of people around? What's your best work? Where are you thriving most?
Yeah, thanks, Derek. I think where I'd be utilized to my fullest potential is in an area where people are struggling to see the forest through the trees, where they're expanding, where they're building, they're implementing new systems, they're integrating with a new acquisition. They've got a private equity partner or a big chairman that they've got to report back to. Yeah. I like being able to take all the chaos, like you mentioned, and wrangle it back down, put it back in the bottle, put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah.
Right. Or the toothpaste back in the tube. It can't be done. I also think that the size of the firm is irrelevant to me. It's, again, the team that you're on. You could be on a small team in a very big company, or a very lean team in a very small company. And I think where I've been most, again, utilized to my fullest potential is in areas where people just can't seem to make sense of what's going on, right? They've got a new hierarchy that they need to manage. They've got reports they need to generate, but also tweak and refine and format. They've got processes to automate. And I think, especially with my newfound love of AI, there's just so much room for putting efficiencies in place for people that didn't even know that they were there, that I think I would do very well on a team that does need somebody with more experience and I would say like an unflappable attitude, right? I'm not going to get jarred by any one little problem. We're going to manage everything in time and take projects across the finish line and get forecasts complete.
Yeah. And all of these things that you just laid out, would you say that those are the same things that people would maybe most appreciate about you, about working with you? You know, when you come onto a team at first, what are people going to appreciate most about you?
I think it's my level of understanding or wanting to understand. And going back to the beginning, right? It's say, be humble. Don't act like, especially from finance, right? Or an accounting perspective. You don't want to come in from an ivory tower and start telling operations what to do when you have no sense of what's going on.
Right.
Right. So I think where, I've been most successful is sit down, shut up, and learn a couple things. And then once you've kind of formed your opinion and be able to assess, a process or what's going on, then levy your decision and give your, advice on what you think might be the best way to proceed. I also think the other thing that they'll appreciate about me is while I seem to have this really strong, loud, big personality, I love letting other people lead. I think I only really like to do the presentation when, one, it's my job, or two, no one else is capable of doing it. Right? If there are people on the team who are ordinarily, hey, I'm more quiet, I don't really like doing it, but they've participated and contributed immensely to the project, I'd like to give them as much credit and as much of that limelight as possible. So I think that's something that they'll appreciate as well.
Yeah, I like your take on leadership, John. I think I could see teams really benefiting from having you on board. And so that said, speaking of boards, I like to transition into a vision board. And if we had to put it out there and you're talking about the company you want to be at, the type of company, the industry, the role, the level of the role, whatever it is, paint the picture for what you're really looking for right now. What would be the sweet spot for you?
Yeah, thank you. I think it's probably subject to a couple things. I think if I was really going to put up a vision board on my wall, it would have to say that I'm either doing something in entertainment again or diving into education. I really like the community aspect of education, coupled with the financial experience that I have in managing, budgets and working with some nonprofits in my past. Those are the things that I think mean the most to me, right? Things that are keeping people happy, entertainment, right? Putting a smile on people's faces. And then the second piece, which is way more important, shaping the future of our country and our community, right? Working with children, teaching them, whether it's a class on budgeting and finance or helping their school raise funds to give them the best educational experience possible.
You're not going back to school for your teaching credential, are you?
Not just yet, but I did just sign up with LAUSD to become a substitute teacher, at least cool. In the interim. I'd like to see if I'd actually be good at it.
Yeah, no, I love that. Well, John, what advice would you give to others that are in your position, either in the type of role that you're in, if they're trying to get that same role, work in the same industry, work in the entertainment industry, work at a company or brand like Liberated? What do you got for people?
I've got a lot of advice because I think that's one thing that people are too shy about these days, because at some point it all becomes a competition, or in some people's minds it's my job or this is the job market and we are competing for it. But my advice would honestly be lean into accounting as much as you can. I happen to like the finance side of things, forecasting, building models, thinking about the future, the long-term plan. But that doesn't mean that I don't have a sound accounting background. But unfortunately, I don't have a CPA. So my strong recommendation would be do as much accounting work as you can, because even when you have it under your belt, as I do, without having that CPA license, a lot of people don't want that type of leader without their certification. So I'd recommend everybody do as much schooling as you can and can afford.
Yeah, good advice. Well, let's close with a soapbox opportunity here for you. I give guests an opportunity to either give a shout out to someone who's helped or influenced you along the way, or even a call out of what's got you riled up right now. You can do both if you want, but your soapbox.
I appreciate that. I'll be quick about this too. I want to thank you first and foremost, for having me on. This is a great opportunity. And then two particular leaders, Sarah Griffin and Tony Augie from Sony and from Paramount, who really did help me put into perspective some of the things that we mentioned about the people, about being unflappable, whether it's, a forecast variance, a process, or a person, how to manage that with, in some cases, grace, or with the right mindset that, hey, this is not getting to me. I'm not going to wear it on my sleeve. So I'd like to thank them. And then, my father, I think the biggest thing that he taught me was good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good is better and your better is the best. So I think that's one thing that I will teach my children as well.
I love that. Thanks, Mr. DiGregorio. Those are great words from him. Good advice. Thank you so much. John, where is the best place for people to keep up with you and follow along with either your career journey or get in touch with you if they're interested in bringing you on their team?
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, LinkedIn is absolutely the best way. Please shoot me a message. Otherwise, Bigger and Louder podcast with Anthony and John. That's the second best way to get in touch with me. So thank you again, Derek. It's been great. We'll put all the links in the show notes, and best of luck to you, John, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, take care. Hey, everyone. Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what you heard, be sure to check back weekly, subscribe to the show, and if you want to be featured on the show, come hit us up at theunderswell.com. We'd love to hear from you.